is a recurring theme throughout Advent, and that is in this first part of Advent up until the 17th of December, we keep hearing readings that speak of God's power, a power that is promised to us. And in the gospel, we see how Jesus fulfilled that promise, that hope of the past. And it is a powerful thing. In music, when you have a piece of a melody that's repeated over and over again, they call that a leitmotif. You know, it's a da-da-da-da-da-dum-dum-dum, and that gets repeated throughout the symphony. We're familiar with that. Well, it's the same thing through Advent. First reading, promise. Second reading, fulfillment. Promise, fulfillment. Promise, fulfillment. And so we hear today the prophet Isaiah speak to the people about what God will do in the future, how God will change everything. You know, then the lame will leap like a stag. You know, this whole thing of God will heal the wounds of humanity, that God will touch us in a way that will bring new life. God will change everything. The power of God will touch the hearts of human beings, will touch the power of creation itself, and it will be transformed. And we see that begin to happen in Jesus. You know, again and again, what brought people to Jesus was this power to heal. That somehow this healing power, people came to him from all sides, you know, and the reality is that that was the gimmick. I guess you have to say that was the gimmick. That was what brought people to Jesus. But then they began to listen to what he was saying. You know, healing brings about a physical change. But there are changes in humanity that go much deeper than that. You know, the wounds of sin are deep. And the cause of that self-centeredness, the false pride, the unwillingness to accept responsibility, all of those again and again, you know, that's what needs to be healed in me. No, it isn't just that I stop doing something stupid or I do something better. I really want God to heal me at the root of the problem. You know, to make it so that I do the right thing for the right reasons because I do it for the love of God. That's my ultimate goal in life. And the only way I'm going to do that is through the power of God. Promise, fulfillment. Promise, fulfillment. And at the heart of it is that this fulfillment promises even more in the future. And that's what we celebrate in Advent. St. Ambrose, whose feast the church celebrates today, was very much aware of this promise. You know, originally, he was born in the capital of the Roman Empire in 340. And you may say that was Rome, but it wasn't. At that point, the emperor lived in a German city called Trier. He didn't like Rome. And so Constantine lived there, and that's where Ambrose was born. And because that was the capital of the empire at the time, you know, the kind of thing that he was going to grow up to be was in government service. And he came to the city of Milan in Italy, in the Italian peninsula, and he was sent there as the governor. But he was attracted to the faith of Christ. And so he entered into the catechumenate. And interestingly, back in those days, in fact, for most of the life of the church, actually, people elected their own bishops in one way or another. And while Ambrose was still a catechumen, he got elected bishop of Milan. He had been governor, and they liked him. They thought he was on their side. And so the Christians of Milan elected him their bishop, and so he had to be baptized so that he could be ordained. You know, little problem there, you know, and so, but that was taken care of, and he became their bishop, and he became a strong voice because it pushed him to take Christ ever more seriously and to look for that deeper healing, not just of himself, but of all humanity, and that we are all called to that. We are called to walk the way of Christ. And so that meant that along the way, he took on emperors who didn't always do what they were supposed to, even though they claimed to be Christian. And he got into arguments with them to the point that he was even willing, he said, well, kill me if you don't like what I'm saying. And the power of his words persuaded them. You know, his line was, the emperor is in the church, not above the church. And that's true of us all. You know, we're in the church, we're in this community of faith, and praying that the Lord will give us what we need to truly be the men and women he has made us to be. That is the hope, that is the promise. And that's what we celebrate in Advent. Today, we celebrate this man of faith who actually had a great effect on other people. St. Augustine, who you might have heard of, was one who, after years of rejecting Christianity, was drawn to Christianity by the power of Ambrose preaching. It is that power, the word, the hope, the promise, that we ask touch our lives during this Advent season, to shape us more and more into the people God has meant us to be, that God has created us to be. That is the promise and the fulfillment of Advent.